Community Hotline is made possible with generous support by the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission. The Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission advocates on behalf of the public interest on communications policy issues at the local, state, and federal levels.
Hi, and welcome back to Community Hotline. I'm Monica Weitzel, and we're here at MetroEast Community Media. You know, this next week is Free Speech Week, and as a part of that celebration, the Alliance for Community Media has decided that we will have a Community Media Day. And I've invited someone here to talk with me about it, Sue Disciple. Sue, it's lovely to have you here.
Thank you.
You served on the National Board for the Alliance for Community Media, correct?
I did in the 1990s.
Right, okay,
Yeah.
and then you also have your own practice, the Sue Disciple Group. You've held several public service positions in Oregon, and then I met you through your position as a Portland representative for the Mount Hood Cable Regulatory Commission.
Right.
So you've done a lot of things in this industry and in this field. So I really appreciate you coming to talk with us a little bit about Community Media Day and where community media is going. So thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Monica.
Bet. Can you, because you've been in this industry for a while, can you give me a little bit of history of community media in this country?
Well, sure. So in the 1970s, the early 70s, as cable was emerging, there was a discussion about what would be the statutory or the regulatory platform that it would rest on and how would that work. And so there's really two principles that informed that. And the first one is that just like any utility, cable should also compensate municipalities for the rights of way that it uses as a distribution method for their business.
Okay.
So that kind of laid the funding basis for public access because franchise fees were paid to municipalities. The second principle was the value placed in the First Amendment, and that if we believe that there needs to be free and unfettered speech, there needs to be a place to have free and unfettered speech. And, you know, speech has migrated from the public square, the actual public square, to other, you know, electronic public squares.
Right.
And so channels that were that public space that were highly local and controlled locally, those were envisioned and they became a part of the rulemaking, and ultimately the statutory foundation that enables cities and municipalities to have public access channels and operate them and program them.
So for everyday citizens like you and me, if we want to get the word out about whatever we want to get the word out about, if we want to talk about something that's important to us, passionate, if we want to share something that we care about, this is a great platform to do that. But that wasn't always the case. So that was the beginning of that as far as television goes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So things have changed a lot. And we have a little video I'd like to show that was made here at MetroEast. It kind of gives a little bit of flavor of the history and where it's been. So I think we should take a look at that, and then I'd like to talk a little bit more about where community media is going. So if we could take a look at that now.
Great.
I want to see media for the community, made by the community.
We must be active participants in our community.
We deserve locally made media that reflects the place we live.
So what does this all mean? What does it look like when everyone participates and lets their voice be heard?
Don't touch that dial, you're here for a reason.
Hi there! I think I'm pretty good with advice.
You know, this is our community garden.
It's the message of, by, and for a community.
As the notion of media, for and by the community, began to gather steam in the late 60s and early 70s, George Stoney, regarded as one of the pioneers, saw the great potential to reimagine the media landscape.
First thing, I got back to New York in 1970, just when the franchise was being written. And a whole bunch of people were talking about access. It was the idea that people should have a right, you know, was great 60s stuff.
There was a rare opportunity when activism was a part of the United States, when technology changed, channel space was available, and cable franchising was coming in.
Cable TV first became available in the 1940s. This meant rural places could now receive major broadcast signals. Basically, put an antenna on the highest hill and run cables to people's houses. This service wasn't free, and private companies began making profits by stringing cables on the very streets everybody owns. These streets are considered the public right of way.
My voice, your voice, our voice matters. We own the airwaves.
Call it a hobby. Call it a passion. Call it exercising your right to free speech. This is about kids, seniors, people like you and me gaining confidence in front of and behind the camera, doing great things out and about in the community and letting our voices be heard.
It is really my program, and I have really total control.
When I come out here, I have a right to say exactly what I think.
I wouldn't be out there if it wasn't for MetroEast.
We love being a part of creating community media.
Across the nation, volunteers at cable access stations produce more than 20,000 hours of local programming each week. That's more than NBC, CBS, ABC, Fox, and PBS combined. When you gather a community of volunteer producers, local governments, nonprofits, and youth together, you create something that is much more than the sum of its parts. You build a local media outlet that celebrates diverse community voices, sharing ideas and working together. However, the media landscape is ever evolving. The companies who control the pipes, the cables, the airwaves, are consolidating, and the only common denominator is a very lucrative bottom line. In 1983, 90% of American media was owned by 50 companies. 30 years later, that same 90% is controlled by only 6 companies. Our future, as it always has been, is up to us. We must strive and advocate for all we do, and speak out to protect our public rights of way. We must preserve our electronic green space, the place where all community voices can be heard, the original electronic town hall.
That's great. They talk about the landscape changing, the landscape changing. Everything is changing in this industry. What are some of the threats to community media now? What's out there that's changed, that's going to, possibly obliterate our community media centers? I know a lot of them have closed across the country.
That is true. I think in our region here, we have a lot of respect and place a lot of value on community media. So I think the prognosis for our community is good. But some of the threats include, first of all, declining cable revenues.
Right.
Because, of course, funding comes from a percentage of cable revenues in our service area.
And now people are streaming things. They're watching everything on their devices.
Right.
So.
Exactly. Yeah. So, there's been a little down curl, but people have been predicting the downfall of the cable companies for a long time, and they always seem to become relevant and continue to make money. So, but that's one. I think another one is, of course, then lobbying also by all of the companies that have to pay fees for use of the local rights of way. They're always in Congress at the FCC and also at the state legislature trying to get the resources that support cable access diminished or eliminated or no longer regulated locally.
And they have a lot more money,
to
lobby with, I imagine.
And localism is a key piece of community media. So there's that. And then, but I think that a lot of the threats to community media in the past have been exaggerated. So for instance, 5 or 6 years ago, the advent of YouTube and the emergence and the proliferation of YouTube was really seen as an existential threat to community media. People were asking, well, why do we need community media centers anymore? But now we see people coming into the community media center largely to gain skills to make higher quality productions that then go out on the cable stations, but they also are uploaded to the internet.
Right, so they're on multiple platforms instead of just on cable.
It's very symbiotic,
yes.
And you know, has really been an opportunity. What everyone thought was a threat has actually turned into quite an opportunity for community media.
I would agree with that. I know everything we do, we put on cable TV, but we also upload it to the internet, and so it can be shared worldwide. It gives it, you know, a much wider appeal and a broader audience, and we still have a lot of support also from the municipalities, the different jurisdictions. For example, here in Gresham, we have Gresham, Troutdale, Wood Village, Fairview, and we're videotaping all those government meetings. They love that. They want that transparency, and they want to, you know, be out there. So there are services that we provide that you're not going to get elsewhere.
Absolutely, and the uploading makes the programming available on more different kinds of devices.
Right.
So it really becomes ubiquitous, and so it actually was an opportunity, not a threat. So
yeah,
I'm optimistic.
I agree. So knowing that, where do you think it's going to go from here? Do you see the future changing significantly for community media?
Well, I do, but I think in really positive ways that reflect what's happening in our society. So that little spot that we just saw, they referenced media consolidation and the fact that 6 corporations control 90% of the media outlets in our country. So you know, community media has a real local niche. We're seeing now, as we're watching the presidential campaign, media is just fixated now because so much of it is focused nationally. It's just fixated on the presidential election. For instance, we're seeing very little media about any of the down markets. And we're really not even seeing it on our local broadcast TV.
No, we're not.
We're going to see good information about the local races, city, county, state, are going to be on public access.
Like the interview I just did with the League of Women Voters. They had their forums, and we were videotaping those. You know, that's where you're going to see it.
Right. You'll see it on local media, and it just shows to me the importance, the critical importance of protecting that real estate on the cable network for public information. And then I guess, I don't know how much time we have left, but
5 minutes or so.
Yeah. Okay, well then just kind of briefly, our region, I think the country, but our region is really finding digital equity to be a critical social indicator, and community media is clearly a component of digital equity. It's a place where people who don't have other resources to get digital skills, really high quality, sophisticated digital skills, can come and at no or very low cost can get those skills and put them to use and have all the support they need to do so.
That's right.
As we see that the digital divide that we thought was just going to close in and of itself is not closing.
Right.
We've recognized we have to do something about that, and community media is a key part of that. So I think we're going to see that piece coming to the fore. And you know, when I was out here for your last awards ceremony, and I looked around that room, that was the most diverse crowd I have ever seen at any event in this very, you know, majority culture region that we live in. And it just goes to show how, you know, just again, the role of MetroEast in our digital equity.
That makes me proud, really. It makes me proud because we really have made a concerted effort to reach out to communities of color, to non-English speaking communities, to the demographic of the people that actually live in this community, and offered them the opportunity to come in and tell their stories, to share their culture, to, you know, share their lives with the rest of the community. It's a great way, I think, to bring communities and neighborhoods together and to share what we have in common and not just our differences. You know, we did get, I want to mention that we got from the city of Gresham, and we got a proclamation from the mayor, signed by the mayor, proclamation for Community Media Day. Some wonderful things is said in here, and also from Multnomah County Commission, also is proclaiming October 20th as Community Media Day. This is the first ever and hopes to be an annual Community Media Day, just to celebrate what we do bring to the community and appreciate the resource that we are. So I'm very proud of that.
It's really exciting. Yeah, you know, the thing that I saw at that awards ceremony that night was the woman that was on, just briefly shown on that little clip.
The quilt?
Who does the quilt show.
Elizabeth, yes.
She just wanted to demonstrate to her neighbors and friends how to make quilts. And she didn't know anything about technology at all.
That's right.
And she came here and she learned how to do her show. And now she's on YouTube and she has 200,000 hits.
I think she's quite a bit above that now. It's
right,
amazing.
that was then.
Yeah. It's amazing. So yeah, being able to share that with, not just your little neighborhood here. I mean, she's getting, YouTube hits from all over the world.
Yeah.
That's pretty impressive.
Yeah. And one other thing that I do want to stress when you said about the future of media, I mean, if we believe youth are our future. When I was at the Alliance for Community Media conference, I went to a workshop that blew my mind. There are these kids who are Minecrafters.
Minecraft, yes.
And they are doing these environments in Minecraft and then merging that with video that they produce in their community media centers. A group of kids had replicated their town, everything,
Wow.
the entire layout, correct heights of buildings, everything. And then they were making video, and so they had a video of the mayor in his office. You could walk into a Starbucks, and there was a video in there. So it's, I think, the merging of these other technologies and applications, such as gaming,
right.
Are something that is going to begin to be integrated with community media, and I think it's going to really keep that influx of young people coming in, because they're already taking community media and integrating it with those applications and technologies that interest them.
So all that creativity, and we can help bridge that digital divide and bring in those kids and teach them how to do this, and they can teach us with all their creativity and their skills. And yeah, it's a beautiful thing, and I think we just need to keep our minds really open to what the possibilities are.
Absolutely. I came back from that conference. I said, I need to sit down with my grandson and find out about this Minecraft.
I love it. Well, we're out of time, Sue. Thank you so much for being on tonight, and I appreciate it. So with your help at the MHCRC, I know that we'll be around for a while. So thanks for all your support.
Thanks for having me,
You
Monica.
bet. Thanks for watching this segment of Community Hotline. Don't go away. We'll be right back with the League of Minority Voters.
Local government is a very important part of our daily lives. You might think the decisions that affect us most are made in Washington, D.C., but frequently what happens at the local level has the biggest impact. Safe and clean streets and parks, local ballot measures to ensure funding for police. These are just a few of the issues that matter most. At MetroEast, we provide gavel-to-gavel coverage of local government so you can see what's happening in your East County cities. Watch city councils, planning commissions, and school boards on these cable channels or online.